You know when you can't tell if someone's like staring right at you or not? Oh no, she's looking at the wall. Alright, so today we have a little raves and rejects action. It's been a while since we've been here doing the raves and rejects. Mostly because I don't know where the heck the last 3 months have gone. I do have a one shoulder sleeve shirt on, whatever this is called, but it kind of looks like I'm wearing my birthday suit. So some of these things I've been using for the last 2-3 months. Some of them are newer things that I've just fallen in love with. When I'm filming this, I actually just landed back in Seattle from San Diego last night and woke up this morning feeling pretty sick. My throat doesn't feel great right now. We are gonna make it through this video with a voice, hopefully. So let's get into it. If you're excited for this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, you can join the Bayrito family and subscribe. I upload every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. The announcement video is now live for 15 days of foundation. I'm gonna leave that video down below. But don't forget, t-shirts are up right now. 100% of the proceeds go to Project Beauty Share, and there's a whole other thing going on for the next series of 15 days of foundation, so make sure you've watched that announcement video down below. Alright, I want to start out with something that I am so pleasantly surprised by because I just didn't think I was going to like this product as much as I love it. I typically don't like loose kind of powders, especially with highlighters, but this is the Jcat Pearl Luminizer Luxe Pro Powder. This is like $6 or $7, somewhere around there. You can get it on Ulta's website. I've raved about this in videos, on Instagram, on Snapchat. I'm in love. This is such a beautiful highlighter. I'm wearing it right now, but I did my makeup without the lights on, and I feel like now that the lights are on, you can't really see it. Let's just apply some more, shall we? My favorite highlight brush, Sigma F03. The thing I love about this powder, there's multiple things. First thing I love is that you can completely build this up and customize it. So if you want a super natural looking highlight one day, you can achieve that. If you want to build it up and have a super intense reflective highlight, you can do that with this. You can also use a big fluffy brush and use it as kind of an all over face powder, and when you first put it on, you can see like the stripe there and it looks scary, and once you actually blend it out, it just melts into your skin and blends in so freaking beautifully. Oh, I just love how it sits on the skin. It doesn't overly emphasize my texture when the sun is out. This is like one of those beaming highlighters. It is so freaking stunning. I don't even know if I finished my train of thought about the big fluffy brush, but basically you can use it if you want an all over kind of glow. Just use it with a super big brush like this. This is the Morphe E1, but it's basically just a huge bendy, flimsy kind of fluffy brush. So you can just super lightly dust this all over your face as an all over kind of glow powder. All right, so let's move on to foundations. I'm having a lot of fun trying out foundations that I already own just to see if they work differently for my skin now that I'm more normal to dry. That didn't work out for me when I was oily before Accutane, and there's been a few products that have worked totally different for my skin now, and also a few products that I used to love for my oily skin that just look like trash on my skin right now. So that just goes to show what I always say, foundations work differently for different people depending on your skin, depending on your needs in a foundation, and what you like in a foundation. So it's been really fun for me to experiment with that. I think I am going to do a video on foundations that didn't used to work for me that work for me now, but I have a lot to try out, so that video probably won't be coming for a while. But point being, I have a few foundations that are just my go-tos right now that look great on dry skin that I can pretty much mix with anything, and they look phenomenal. So the first foundation, which is looking not its cleanest, is the Dermablend Smooth Liquid Camo foundation. I have the shades Linen and Cream, I think is the other one. They're both way too dark and yellow for my skin tone, so I do have to mix these. But this foundation is one of the few foundations that I feel like looks beautiful across all skin types. It looked great when I had oily skin. It looks beautiful on dry skin. I would say this is about medium to full coverage depending on how much you use and how you build it up. The thing I love about this is that it is so thin and weightless, and the finish of it is like skin. It sits on the skin so beautifully, and it's one of those that is just great to mix in with foundations. I think it was in a Shadow and Schmooze where someone asked what foundation I would recommend for weddings, and this is one of the few foundations that I feel like I can recommend across all skin types that is just beautiful on texture, on top of acne when I had it, on top of dry skin, patchiness, whatever it is. This foundation looks beautiful. I wish they came out with like 4 lighter shades in this shade because I would just wear this on its own if they had that. But I do mix this in, and the thing I really like mixing it in with is my CYO Life Proof Foundation, which I raved about in November Raves and Rejects. This is still one of my go-to foundations. I actually picked up a shade darker. This is 102. I've been using 101. If I have a foundation that I need to lighten, I'll use 101. If I just wear it on its own, I'll mix these two shades because 102, for whatever reason, oxidizes like crazy. 101 doesn't oxidize at all. This is a freaking beautiful $6 or $7 foundation from Walgreens. You need to try this out. It is the most smoothing, plumping, beautiful finish if you like dewy foundations, or even if you don't and you have a really matte foundation that you just want to add a little bit of life to it, which is the next one I'm going to be talking about. Also great for that purpose. If you want to know my full thoughts on this foundation, check out November Raves and Rejects because I went into it there. I do have a handful of videos using that foundation. You can always just search the Talia, Cyo foundation, or whatever foundation you want to see, and a video will pop up if I have it. So the matte foundation I was talking about that I've been mixing Cyo in with is the Catrice HD Liquid Coverage Foundation. I'm wearing this combo on my skin right now, and this is what I've been doing if I want a matte look, but I don't want it to basically look like total shit on my dry skin. Again, this foundation is so freaking dark for this being the light shade. I have a whole review on this. I think it was during the last 15 days of foundation. It was ranked in the top during my last series ranking video. This is such a beautiful matte full coverage foundation where it doesn't look too heavy, doesn't look too cakey. It gives you this like very airbrush smooth matte look. I cannot wear this alone because the lightest shade is hell dark, so I mixed it in with the Cyo and 101. And what this does mixed in is it lightens it, but it also just adds a little tiny bit more like a satin finish to it. This thing is so matte that it'll pretty much mattify out any dewy product that you mix in. That's how matte this thing is. The formula is beautiful. Catrice, please expand the shade range. I think this is a completely underrated foundation. I know whenever I talk about this, there's some comments saying that this has the same ingredients as a Fenty foundation. I don't know, man. For whatever reason, Fenty looks like pure shitsies on my skin. This looks entirely different. It is a totally different foundation. They look nothing alike on my skin when I had oily skin and now, so I don't know, but this is great. I think it was around end of January, early February was like the time of blush releases for whatever reason. And I have three, I guess, that I am just obsessed with that I've been reaching for almost every single day. The first is the Jouer blush duos. I feel like you guys are probably going to be seeing these in a ton of people's favorites videos because they're one of those formulas that it's just hard to find something wrong with them. They are beautiful. They blend out easily. They're not too pigmented. They're not too sheer. My first favorite is this duo, the Adore Blush Duo. These ones are the perfect natural blush. If you're someone who doesn't like wearing a lot of blush, or if you're doing a really intense eye look and you just want something super natural, just to give your cheeks like a little bit of color to them where it's not pink, it's not too mauve, it's not too cool toned, warm toned, just very neutral. This one is beautiful, especially this shade. This one has like a tiny bit of a sheen to it almost. As you can see, if you have fair skin, this could almost be used as like a bronzer. That's how it looks on my skin tone a little bit. But the other shade is definitely more peachy, and this one warms up your face quite a bit. If you want something more neutral, mix the two shades. I have a mix of those two shades on my cheeks right now. Let's add a little bit of the peach one in here. I'm just gonna go in with this guy. Wow, that mirror is looking great. Just so you can see the color that you can get with this shade. So pretty. They friggin' nailed the formulas on these, man. The other shade that I really love is Coquette, and you get two pink shades in here. I usually go for this one. This one is definitely too dark for my skin tone, but this light pink shade is really beautiful. The other blush, which is just right up my alley for what I usually go for with blushes, this is the Nars Free Soul Blush. Oh man, I've used this in a few videos recently. It's almost like a blush topper in a way. It's basically this shimmery, super light pink blush. I personally love a glowy blush if there's no glitter in it and if it doesn't emphasize my like cheek texture. And this one I don't find does. Do I like it better than my Ciate glow blushes? Probably not. Those are still like my number one. But this shade and just the way it makes your skin glow is so pretty. I love using this on days when I'm just using like a tinted moisturizer. It really just gives you that super natural kind of flush. If you don't like glowy blushes, do not get this. This is a very glowy blush. I had to mention this guy because Maybelline answered our prayers, and finally, after what? How long has this concealer been out? Like 10 years at this point. The Maybelline Fit Me Concealer, they finally launched new shades of this. They launched deeper shades, they launched lighter shades. The shade range before was pretty shit. Previously, I've been using the shade 15 in this concealer because 15 is lighter than the shade 10 was. Now I'm using the shade 5. Shade 5 is definitely more yellow, but I like the lightness of it, so I've been just mixing these two shades now. So quite a big difference there, which is awesome. There's the shade 5 and there's 15. So when I mix these together, it's kind of like my perfect concealer shade, and it works really well. I'm pretty sure this is sold out everywhere right now. Maybe it's restocked by the time this video goes up, but this is the Ordinary Rosehip Oil. I have to mention this because I think this has done wonders for my acne scarring. I'm currently on Accutane. I recently did a 4-month update video, so I'll link that video down below too if you missed it, but this is what I've been using for my scarring almost every single night. I would say I use this yeah, probably every single night, maybe like 5 times a week. All it is 100% organic cold pressed rosehip oil. So if this is sold out, you can probably find something similar on Amazon or something, but I've actually seen a difference in the scarring since I started using this stuff. So it's bomb, it's super affordable. I think this is like around 10 bucks or under. So another highlighter here. This first one is what I brought on my Europe trip. It's the only highlighter that I brought. This is the Cover FX Moonlight, and I went to check Sephora because this was a travel size and apparently it was limited edition, so I don't think they're making this exact size anymore. This thing was only 10 bucks, so I feel like that was a steal. I hope they still keep the travel size of this, but you can get it in a full size too. This Cover FX highlighter is so beautiful. I've worn this in a few videos, so you can search it, but if you like that really reflective highlight that just sits beautifully on top of the skin, doesn't emphasize texture, this one has a light gold kind of shade to it. Swatches of highlighters I feel like are kind of pointless because it doesn't even do it justice. When it hits the light, it almost has this white champagne look to it that is just, it's gorgeous. All right, last highlighter. I feel like this is a month of blushes and highlighters, but gotta mention this bad boy because oh my gosh. This is the XO Beauty Aurora Powder Radiant Glow Highlight Powder. This one looks like nothing in the pan, like nothing exciting. It looks almost like a face powder in the pan, but when you put it on your skin, it's one of those powders that just totally gives you the most subtle, it's not even a, okay, how do I explain this in the right way? It's one of those highlighters that really is like a glow from within look, which sounds ridiculous, but it isn't a reflective, beaming highlighter like something like the Cover FX one. It's nothing like that. This is one, if you like a really natural, glowy, radiant look, you need this powder in your life. Even, again, with a brush like this as like a finishing powder, it looks beautiful. I've just been reaching for this more on a daily basis. I'm getting like weird reflective things out of the corner of my eye. This packaging right now. I feel like I can't see. I can also see this working really well on more mature skin. If you're someone who enjoys the really frosty beaming highlight, whether you're my age, younger, or you have more mature skin, then by all means go for it. I mean, it's makeup, you can do whatever you want, but I feel like this would sit really nicely on more mature skin and just add a little bit of something where it doesn't look like too much. Should we just add this on too? Let's do it. I'm gonna add a little bit of this to my forehead. I really like highlighting my forehead with this too, just the high points right here, because it just adds a little bit of something and a little bit of glow. So pretty. Next product I've mentioned about 50,000 times on my channel, but it's the Catrice Prime and Fine Contouring Palette. I had to give this one another mention. I'm sure I've mentioned this in a Raves and Rejects at some point, but I've been reaching for this almost every single day. It's just one of those products that I know is going to look good no matter what look I do. It's not too cool toned, it's not too warm toned, it blends out easily. It's from the drugstore. I'm wearing it on my face right now. This one really depends how you apply it. If you apply it with a really light hand, you can get kind of a more contour look. If you apply it with just a bronzer brush or a brush like this, you're going to get more pigment and more of like a warm tone to it, which is how I applied it today. Highlight in here is also beautiful. I brought this, I guess I had two highlights because I brought this one to Europe too. Super pretty light white pink shade. When I first used this highlight, I was not impressed at all, but I think it's one that you got to really rub off the top layer and then you get into it and it is like finding gold. I have 3 eyeshadow palettes here that I find myself reaching for most often. These palettes are pretty hard to have a bad eyeshadow look, in my opinion. Just the way that they blend, everything about them. I just love the way my makeup turns out every time I use them. The first is the BH Cosmetics Zodiac palette. I think I have 2 or 3 videos using this, a couple different looks. You have this ring of mattes on the middle, and then you have shimmer shades on the outside, and then a super shimmery white shade. This ring of mattes on the inside are so soft, pigmented, blendable, everything you want in an eyeshadow. I used the pinks in a video. I've used, I think, the blues. What else have I used? I love doing a really basic, just matte brown kind of look with this palette because look at those friggin' brown shades. They blend out so beautifully. I feel like if you're a beginner with eyeshadow, there goes both palettes. Cool. I think if you're a beginner with eyeshadow and you want to just experiment with more color, this is a great palette to start with because they are very easy to work with and this palette is super affordable. BH Cosmetics always goes on sale, but I think the cheapest I've seen this is about $11. $11, folks. $11. I'm going to swatch some shimmer shades for you. By the way, I'm wearing Gemini, that silver shade, on my lid a little bit right now, and then the other shades I'm wearing are from the other 2 palettes I'm going to talk about. But here's some of the shimmers. Leo, I think, is one of my favorites. It's like this icy white pink shade. Okay, I just tried to swatch one on my knuckle. That didn't work out very well. So the other 2 palettes I've been reaching for most often are 2 by Morphe, the 24G and the 39A. I thought the 39A was going to be like a limited edition holiday thing, but then I saw that they still had it in stock. I think it was on Ulta. I was on there the other day. They still had it in stock. I don't know if they're making that permanent or what, but this is one of the most beautiful laid out palettes. Color wise, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I find this so satisfying to look at. The color assortment here is beautiful. I could be totally making this up, but I feel like there was once a Crayola set or like a crayon set that had these kind of gem tones in it, and that's exactly what this palette reminds me of, like a classy Crayola set. Probably my favorite row in here is this second one with all of these army greens and browns. This whole corner, actually. I literally have no words. I have a couple different videos using this palette. The first one, there it goes again. The way this shade looks on your eyes, if you have green eyes, holy shitsies, it just makes them pop. Even on the lower lash line, it looks really pretty. I like doing that for just kind of everyday looks, where if I'm just putting like a bronzer into my crease or something, I'll just pop this shade or this shade on my lower lash line with a flat edge brush, and it really just makes your eyes pop. 24G is the other one I've been reaching for a ton. Most of my shadows on my eyes right now are from this palette. The kind of rose gold shade I have underneath the silver from Zodiac is this shade, and then I have just kind of like a mix of different browns and stuff. This shimmery white shade I have on my inner corner, these are so freaking buttery and soft. I love this camel brown shades. The shimmer shades in here are super soft, gorgeous shades. There's something about these new palettes. They changed the packaging, by the way. It's now this like soft cardboard. I actually much prefer this packaging to the old cheap plasticky ones. Those ones did not feel good to use, like they didn't feel like great quality. These palettes have a nice weight to them. I like the bigger pan size. I like the packaging on the outside. I feel like they're just kind of stepping it up, and the formula has been spot on. Whatever they're doing with the new formula of these palettes is working. They're beautiful shadows. All right, I just have a few more raves, and then we're going to move on to rejects. Two super quick red lip mentions that I've been wearing pretty much anytime I want a red lip is the Ardell Smokin' Hot liquid lipstick. I feel like I have to hiccup. And then the Physicians Formula Healthy Lip in the shade Restorative Effects. If I could add these two to my red lipsticks, top red lipsticks video that I recently made, I would, because these are both gorgeous, formula-wise and shade-wise. This Ardell one is pretty close to like the perfect red shade in my opinion, like a deep red. And then the Physicians Formula one is brighter, but it has this almost rosy tone to it. So both of these take a minute to dry down. They're not instantly dry matte formulas, which is nice because they don't have that super dry feel to them once they do dry down. On the bottom is Ardell, on the top is Physicians Formula. The unique thing about this Physicians Formula shade to me is that it almost has a little bit of rose in it. It's like a bright red with a hint of rose. Both of these eventually dry down matte. They don't have a lot of transfer to them. They wear well throughout the day with food and everything. They feel very comfortable on the lips. I love the applicator of the Physicians Formula. It has the triangle applicator, which I'm all about, and it almost feels like a thin gloss going on. It's that moisturizing, but then it does dry down. And last rave of the month is shocking to me and probably to you. It's actually from the Wish app. This is the Folklore Eyebrow Dip Brow type of product. I have the shade 04 Ash Brown. I'm wearing it right now, and if I just want to use something like a gel brow product, like a pomade, there's the word, I've been reaching for this. I really like the shade of it. I like that it doesn't have too much glide to it. I like my eyebrow products to have a tiny bit of tug, just so you don't get too bold of a brow really quickly. You have a little bit of room to work with it, and that's what this has. It lasts all day. I really like it, and it's kind of grown on me the more I've used it, and for a couple bucks, you can't go wrong. But let's now move on to the rejects. I have a whole bin here. Number one is the L'Oreal Infallible Glow Lock Illuminating Base. I did not find this to be illuminating whatsoever. It just doesn't do a whole lot. It looks like a very sheer gel kind of moisturizer almost. It doesn't give you that glow that you would expect from an illuminating primer. So don't think this one is worth the money. Next up, I have a Physicians Formula Reject, and I actually first tried this months ago, maybe even like a year ago, because it was when I was in the old office space is when I first tried this in a first impressions video. And the more I use this, the more I really don't like this. It has this very odd formula for a setting spray where you spray it and it dries almost instantly, not in a good way. It almost like makes my skin more dry. And every single time I try it, the more I don't like it. There's something very odd about the formula of this. I don't know if there's like a shit ton of alcohol in this or something, but that's the way it feels. It almost feels like a drying alcohol kind of situation. This is the new Becca Under Eye Primer. I think this is new. Basically like a hard balm. It almost feels like a lip balm. It just really does a whole lot of nothing. It doesn't feel quite hydrating enough for the under eyes. It almost feels like a balm primer that you would use on like your T-zone. It feels and looks pretty cheap to me. I don't feel like this makes my under eye concealer crease any less. I don't feel like it really adds a whole lot of moisture under there. I just really don't think this is worth the money. This concealer works really well for some people. On my skin, it looks not great. Don't think it's worth the money. This is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place Concealer. I have the lightest shade, which is 1N. It is very yellow. I find that it just kind of like slides around. It doesn't give me the coverage that I like under my eyes. I don't think this is a full coverage concealer. It doesn't really cover my darkness all the way. It doesn't cover my freckles under there. It just feels a little bit too creamy to the point where it's almost kind of hard to set. And when I do put a powder on top of it, it just kind of looks too heavy and cakey because of the consistency of the concealer underneath the powder. So this one I'm not feeling at all. So Hourglass came out with 2 new brow products. One of them I absolutely love and I've been using almost every day when I'm not using the Focal product, but I didn't want to mention this because I don't feel like it's something that you particularly need to buy for the price. I just feel like there are other options. So I do like this, but the product that I don't like is the Arch Brow Voluminizing Fiber Gel. When are brands gonna stop making brow gel applicators giant? It doesn't make sense. The wand on here is pretty much like a mascara wand. It's just chopped in half, so it's shorter. Way too friggin' big to get on your brow without it getting outside of your brow and on your face. The product is called Brow Voluminizing Fiber Gel. And when I think of voluminizing fiber, I think of something like the Benefit Gimme Brow, which actually does somehow add volume and like hairs to your brows. This doesn't do that at all. I don't find it to add any type of volume, and it almost gives you this like shiny effect to your brows. This next one is a product that I recently did a Foundation Friday on. It's the First Aid Beauty Hello Fab Triple Protection Skin Tint. For whatever reason, this looks horrible on my skin. I've tried to use it again since that video just to see, and it just sits on my skin so bad. It looks like I have a powder on. For something that is supposed to be very natural and just a tint of color, it just looks bad on my skin. Definitely not worth the 30 bucks or whatever this was, 32, something around there. This product I am just confused by. It seems almost counterintuitive to me. This is the Milk Makeup Luminous Blur Stick. Essentially, this is supposed to be kind of like their first blur stick, a blurring product, but this actually has a glow to it. The areas where you would want to blur out are where your pores are most prominent, which on most people I feel like is around their nose, on their chin, maybe on their forehead. That's typically where you'd want to use like a blurring product. So I don't know why you would want any of these areas to be luminous. I don't find the original blur stick to be super blurring. I don't find this one to be super blurring. Also interesting because they say that you can use this in place of a foundation. You get a very, very sheer color with this. It has a gold tint to it, but there is no kind of real pigment in there. That's it blended out. I mean, you can't even see it in my skin. I don't know. I feel like something missed the mark here, either between the way they have communicated this product or the actual product. I don't know. It just doesn't, the dots don't connect for me on this one. The Cyo Eyeliner Marker Pen. This is the 3 and Easy is what it's called. You have these 3 prongs here. This looks like a friggin' doll fork or something. It just is kind of gimmicky, kind of unnecessary. The actual product too is not the most black. I would just say pass on this one. I did a whole video testing out CYO makeup. That's where I discovered the Life Proof foundation in that video. So that is everything. By the way, on my lips right now, I'm wearing the Healthy Lip Physicians Formula in All Natural Nude. And then I topped it off with the CYO lip gloss in Your Best Side just to give it a little bit more pink. I think all of the rest of the makeup, I told you guys what I was wearing. So I hope you guys enjoyed Raves and Rejects. If you did, don't forget to give this a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what your favorite products of the month has been, or the past couple months, whatever you've been feeling lately. I love you guys. I hope you're getting excited for 15 days of foundation, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.